I'm Lee.
And I'm Brandon.
And this is That's What He Said, the show where two self-proclaimed football geniuses tell you how it was and how it will be. Brandon?
Getting back to the scoreboard from this past weekend, a lot of great matchups. Start off with number 1 Alabama rolling into Knoxville, taking care of business. Alabama escapes with a 58-21 victory. Having been there and actually seen it in person, I can make this statement and it be 100% true. This is not just the best Alabama team that I have seen in a long time. This is the best all-around college football team. There's no weaknesses anywhere. They're deep everywhere. Tua gets banged up at all. Jalen's right there. The slew of running backs, Ruggs, Judy, the incredible receivers. The offensive line does not let anyone near any of the quarterbacks. Alabama came in and absolutely took care of business from the very first whistle. Tennessee, to give them credit, they didn't roll over and quit. Getting beat like that, most points Alabama's ever scored against Tennessee in this rivalry. 58-21 though. Tennessee gives them 9, just with the safety. The returner not knowing how to fair catch the ball off the kickoff, and then we allow Garantano to just get hit a number of times from the blind side, fumbles the ball, gets picked up. So obviously you can't spot a good team like Alabama points. Can't give them good field position like that, and that kind of hurt Tennessee early. Give them credit though; they fought right back before halftime. Garantano goes out. Keller Chris comes in. What you want to see from a backup? Come in, put 2 touchdowns on the board. So definitely some things to take away if you're a Tennessee fan. Get through this game. Don't get anybody significant hurt. Garantano took some licks. He is going to play Saturday, so hopefully, we don't get, the hangover and that kind of stuff now. But what more can you say about Alabama?
Well, it never gets old hearing you say that, and I have heard some other folks on college football talk shows saying this may be the best football team that they've ever seen, the best college football team that they've ever seen. So it's really fascinating, and it is hard to find a weakness. I do think Tennessee, though, was able to put some points on the board. I think that's encouraging. I mean, they were going against what may be a juggernaut, however you want to say it. There's really nothing more to say.
No. Alabama, again, I don't see anybody slowing them down. LSU fans, I hear things. Best of luck to you. Absolutely. Moving right on. Tulsa goes into Fayetteville, Arkansas, with a 23-0 victory. I picked Tulsa to beat Arkansas. Arkansas just hasn't shown a whole lot. A very sloppy game from both teams here. Arkansas getting the most important thing.
Shutout.
The win and a shutout.
W shutout.
Arkansas, running game looked a little bit better in this game. Still not much consistency from the quarterback position, something they do to continue to move forward.
Yeah, so it was sloppy, but Arkansas's defense just really getting it done. An out-of-conference team that's dangerous. Tulsa has been a dangerous team historically, but this year, this is probably the first game where Arkansas looked like an SEC defense. I felt like they really looked athletic, physical, strong, like they knew what they were doing. So encouraging for Arkansas fans, but they do have to play SEC teams going forward.
Yes.
That's where it's going to keep being tough for Arkansas.
Moving along, Auburn heads down to the Grove to take on Ole Miss. Auburn comes out with a 31-16 win. This was a game that we both differed on as far as our pick.
We differed on the Arkansas-Tulsa game as well.
We differed on that one as well. I just thought Auburn coming off a loss to Tennessee, and you're starting to hear the rumors about Malzahn and what have you. I thought Auburn needed this game a whole lot more than Ole Miss did.
You're right.
Auburn very dominant throughout this game. Ole Miss scores late to make it look closer and everything. Yeah. But Auburn very dominant in this game.
Definitely. Yeah, Auburn just – Ole Miss had no answers for Auburn. Auburn looked incredible against Ole Miss.
Auburn got off to a fast start. The running game looked great. Stidham, much better, much more poised and everything like that. Again, still not his best game, but definitely building off, seeing mistakes from the week before, checking out the film and all that kind of stuff, and put together a fairly decent game.
Yeah, and to me in this game, Gus Malzahn looked more like he was in control, like he had a handle on things. And really, in the Tennessee game, I felt like he was confused a lot of the time and frustrated.
Right.
But this game against Ole Miss is no pushover. And I thought Ole Miss had a shot to beat Auburn. That's why I picked them, and I picked wrong. But Malzahn just looked more like the head coach he used to be a couple of years ago in this game. So that was interesting to see.
Yep.
He had a fire in his eyes I haven't seen
He
recently.
did.
Yeah.
He did. Maybe the word fire has been mentioned to him a couple of times. So, moving on to Memphis heading to Missouri to take on a very high-powered offense. We talked a lot about Drew Lock. We talked a lot about Crockett. We talked about a lot about Emmanuel Hall, just the continued offense that the bunch has. Can they put it all together, though? They finally put it all together on offense with a 65-33 victory. It looks like a bad basketball score. 65-33, Lock, huge day.
Yeah, and just when I was beginning to think that it was going to be a very disappointing season for Locke, because mostly maybe the personnel he has around him, the offensive line, and a tough SEC schedule, he puts up massive numbers, touchdown after touchdown. He looked really good. Now, obviously, they weren't playing some of the top-tier SEC teams, but this is what Drew Lock needed.
Well, it's still Memphis, no pushover. I mean, you watch Memphis and Central Florida play, Central Florida being an undefeated team. Central Florida escaping 2 weeks ago. Memphis, a very high-powered offense like they've been the last couple of years. Drew Lock, though, 23 of 29. I mean, 6 incomplete passes, over 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's the Drew Lock we were talking about at the beginning of the year.
Do you think maybe he got himself back into the Heisman conversation?
Unfortunately, a lot's happened since we last visited that conversation. No doubt in mind, it doesn't matter who the other 2 or 3 that they invite are. There's one person that's winning the Heisman Trophy at this point. Tua
Tagovailoa.
There we go. Barring an injury or barring anything, just unforeseen happening, I just don't see anybody taking it from him. Will Grier was one that I was still pretty high on. Iowa State kind of brought them back down off cloud 9 last 2 weeks ago with a big win in Ames, Iowa. Very, very tough place to play. But Grier just hadn't looked as strong. Tonight they're putting it to Baylor. It was 44-7 last I saw, 41-0 at halftime in that game. Will Grier, huge game in the first half tonight. So he's probably going to get his name back in the mix there. Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, still a lot of ball to be played in the Big 12 as far as some of those guys that we had talked about that could be our SEC or that could be our Heisman finalist and that kind of stuff. So obviously still a lot of ball to be played. I just don't know that Lock at this point, is still in the mix. Now, with their schedule they have coming up, a couple of more, winnable games, he's going to have to continue to put up 300-400 yards a game, take care of the ball, completion percentage be way up in order to get his name back in the running.
Yeah, I just don't know that. I don't know that he has the personnel around him to really be able to do it. With those numbers against Memphis, which, like you said, it's not a pushover.
Right.
That's something. He's still definitely a force to be reckoned with, and a name that we're going to hear a lot continuing going forward, barring any injury or anything like that.
Right. Moving along, LSU takes on Mississippi State in Death Valley. LSU escapes with a 19-3 win. Very low-scoring game. Not very good play out of the LSU quarterback. Just a little over 50% completions, no touchdown passes, 1 interception. Nick Fitzgerald, probably his worst game as a Mississippi State quarterback. 4 interceptions, not efficient at all. Mississippi State could just never get anything going.
Yeah, and this was really just LSU having such a physical defense, being able to take care of things when their offense was just sputtering. And that's what it really was all day. It just looked like the little engine that could not.
Well, LSU gets the ball first. They go right down the field and score 2.5 minutes into the game. That's the only touchdown scored in that game. From that point forward, 4 field goals are kicked by LSU, 1 field goal kicked by Mississippi State. Just a very sloppy offensive game. Nick Broussard on the running game for LSU. Not at 100 yards. He does get the lone touchdown in this game. LSU, both of these teams, looking to be bowl eligible. LSU already at 7-1 and everything. Everything in the world to play for still. They know they got a big one coming up here in a couple of weeks.
And, for LSU fans, for LSU, this is probably the best of both worlds because they know they have an offensive problem. I mean, anyone, a 12-year-old could watch this game and say LSU has an offensive problem.
Right.
So it's going to be a focus, a big focus. I mean, the coaches have got their heads together. The players are all more focused on offense during practice during the week. It's sort of like when a big loss really gets a team's attention. But in this case, they don't have to have an L on the schedule.
Right.
They get the win with horrible offensive production. And yet they know it's a problem. They're going to work on it. So really, LSU, best of both worlds, and they're only going to get better on offense, I think. I think that since they know it's a problem, they're addressing it. It's probably going to get a lot more time in practice. They're probably going to try to work to have more snaps in practice, work on more of the fundamentals and things. And so I think that really it's a blessing in disguise for LSU to go out there and look so bad on offense and still get the W. So I think that LSU is really going to be good at the end of the year. And I think I still think that they have the tools to have a good offense and to have a productive offense.
Could it be a scenario too where LSU feels at this point they've shown enough that they need to show at this point? They're not really worried about winning games by style points and all that kind of stuff, knowing that they've still got to play Alabama in a couple of weeks.
That's a good point.
Obviously later in the season you've probably showed the majority of what you're going to show. This late in the season, any thought as to if that's anything LSU is maybe saving a couple of things there that they just don't want to continually show?
Well, Les Miles won a lot of games that way, where it was just a running back and
an athlete back there trying to play quarterback.
Where it was just a running back and a puff of dust, and a 2 or 3 yard gain. And
right.
They would just eke out games because they really relied on their defense and trusted their defense. And it very well could be that they just know that they have a defense. They can win the game. It's all they want to do. Hide everything they can, play vanilla, and bring out some offensive plays that Alabama hasn't seen. And that could very well be their strategy if they really feel like that they have a defense that can do that, and they apparently do.
Right.
So that's a very good point. And I know that I felt like Les Miles won a lot of games that way when he was winning at LSU. Yeah, before it seemed like things might have passed him by a little bit. But definitely something to that. That'll be interesting to see when they do play Alabama, if they've had a lot of plays that they have not showed anyone, that they've only worked on in practice and unveil at Alabama.
Right. Moving on to our final game to recap the weekend. Vanderbilt heads north to the Commonwealth to take on Kentucky. Kentucky escapes with a 14-7 game. 14-7 win. This game in particular, just not a whole lot going on in this game. I feel like watching the game and just kind of watching both teams, it looked like on offense were afraid to make the big mistake. Being very conservative, hitting check downs on 3rd and long, doing exactly what the defense wanted them to do. Both defenses showed up ready to go. Josh Allen, another big game for Kentucky. Make no mistake about it, this Kentucky defense is for real. I still think a huge part of Vanderbilt's problems is not coming back from South Bend with a win. That would have put them at 4-0, beating now a top 10 team that Notre Dame's turned out to be. Vanderbilt, I'm not sure where they go from this point. This is going to be tough for them to bounce back from 3-5 now after starting out 3-0.
So promising, yeah, the ball.
Still promising, yeah. I mean,
I said so promising.
So promising.
Started off so promising.
Still promising as far as a bowl bid and everything like that. I mean, 4, and you got to get 3 out of 4. Kentucky, though, rolling along continually. Kentucky right now is just kind of almost sitting in the passenger seat. They know they've beaten Florida and everything. More than likely, they're looking at this game this weekend between Georgia and Florida. All of the what-ifs in this game, all of the scenarios that can come about, it's going to come down to when Georgia and Kentucky play later in this season.
And they are pulling for Florida hard, I would imagine.
Yes.
So Vanderbilt against Kentucky looked a lot like the Vanderbilt of old, and Kentucky looked like an LSU that we just described. They felt like they had it. They didn't have to do anything impressive, didn't want to show anything, just had to get the W. And I heard one of the commentators talking about how the Kentucky basketball team has a saying, survive and advance.
Mm-hmm.
Survive and advance. And that was kind of what Kentucky looked like. It's just we're going to survive so we can move forward with the season. And they didn't pull anything out. I mean, they really just looked like they were holding it close to the vest, and they felt like they had enough with that.
Right. You know, we talked a lot about the offense going through Benny Snell and everything, the number of touches he actually gets, whether he's taking the handoff or if he's taking the direct snap from the Wildcat. Kentucky's got a problem right now on offense with Terry Wilson only being able to go 3 of 9 for 18 yards. That's a problem in itself. They're going to have to find a way to spread it around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right now, this is their bread and butter, though. They're not going to play in these high-scoring games, and they know that. They are so confident in their offense and what they're doing. But a way they can open it up a little bit more is if they can find some kind of consistency in the passing game. Brady Hoke's son, the backup quarterback there, I've talked a lot about giving him some snaps. This late in the season, I mean, you know, there's so many what ifs in that scenario. Right now, though, Kentucky continues to roll. You know, the one hiccup being at Texas A&M several weeks ago. So
And they could have won.
definitely could have won. Game goes into overtime. So I mean, obviously, you know, Kentucky's got to maintain their position, maintain their poise in the SEC. The SEC East is still theirs for the taking. They're going to have to take care of their business, though, control what they can control. Where's Vanderbilt going at this point?
I don't know. The air has just gone out of their sails so much. It's hard to say. I think that they used to believe in themselves, and now they're not believing in themselves. I think that they think they're just a typical Vanderbilt team, and this is kind of us. That's what they look like. I mean, they just looked sluggish and down. And so it's going to be quite a coaching job if they can all of a sudden come out of this and be confident and get to a bowl game this year. I mean,
you know, a lot of people now saying that, you know, Derek Mason's job might be on the line after the way they started.
We were thinking it was easy for him to stay.
Right.
That's what they would want. But
how quickly things can actually change. Keyshawn Vaughn does not play for Vanderbilt in this game this past weekend. Kind of a late scratch, if you will. Not really sure what's going on there. Vanderbilt obviously looking to get past this one. They know what they got to do at this point. Get to a bowl game, got to win 3 out of their last 4.
Yep, and that's a tall order. We'll see what happens, but they've got to hunker down. They've got to play tough. They've got to play focused, and I'm beginning to doubt, to be honest with you. I'm a doubter at the moment that they'll become bowl eligible and be able to win 75% of their games going forward when they've lost 5 in a row now.
5 in a row now after starting out 3-0.
That's a tall order to get a bunch of guys motivated and confident again to be able to win after they've lost 5 in a row.
Right. We're going to take a quick little break here. When we come back, today we're going to do a little bit of celebrity guest pickers. We've got with us Gator Jay back from the Florida-Tennessee game when we made our picks with that game several weeks back now. Our Gator fan who's a big-time Gator fan, follow him on Twitter. And also the number 1 ranked player for 13-year-olds in the state of Tennessee golfing will be with us to make our celebrity picks as well. What do you say we do some picks?
All right.
Let's do some picks. Joining us again is the number 1 ranked player in the state for 13-year-olds in the state of Tennessee. We got Ty here, and again from Twitter we got the one and only Gator J, our Florida fan. Okay, let's get things started off. Vanderbilt makes the trip this weekend to Fayetteville. Okay, 2 teams desperately in need of a win. Arkansas having to win out to be bowl eligible. Kentucky having to win 3 out of 4. Vanderbilt currently a 1-point favorite on the road. What do you think, Ty?
I got Arkansas.
You got our Arkansas, okay. Jay?
I'm going to go with Vandy. Defense wins out.
Defense wins out. What do you think?
So we have Arkansas here and we have Vandy over here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick Vanderbilt.
You're going to go Vanderbilt. I just think Vanderbilt's the win, like you were saying, is completely out of their sails. I don't know if they have what it takes on offense. Keyshawn Vaughn, we still don't know if he's going to play or not. Hopefully he does. This is big for Arkansas. Arkansas showing a little bit of improvement. I'm going to go with the Hogs at home in a very low-scoring, very close game.
Yeah, it's so tempting for me to pick Arkansas. I just think the discipline is there with Vanderbilt, and I think they're going to get a little momentum. I think
Is this the game where Derek Mason circles the wagons?
I think Coach Mason is going to convince the guys we can beat this team. We should have played better last week. We should have beat Notre Dame. We can beat this team. And I think they're going to show up and they're going to have a really good shot, and they should pull through at the end. That's what I think.
So we're split 2-2 on that one, okay?
All right.
Kentucky, number 12 ranked Kentucky at 6-1. One loss, number 12 in the country. ESPN giving them no love at all. They are a 7-point underdog at Missouri. Ty?
I think Kentucky. I think defense will get it done.
Defense. Josh Allen, Jay?
I would say Missouri at home is one of the tougher places to play in the SEC. Past couple of years, Drew Lock being an NFL quarterback, in my opinion, I think his arm gets hot and Kentucky gets an L.
So we're going with Missouri on that. What do you think?
Drew Lock, Missouri. Just too much for Kentucky, and Kentucky's not going to be able to move the ball as well.
You know, it's interesting. The last couple of times that Drew Lock has faced a tough opponent as far as the defense goes, not his best games and everything. He's due. Again, we've talked about Crockett coming back, running game and everything. We talked about Emmanuel Hall being back on offensive receiver. Kentucky, just not enough on offense right now. Again, we're talking Terry Wilson goes 3 of 9 this past week for 18 yards. Kentucky got to find a way to throw it. I'm not sure they're going to find it this week. Again, I agree with you, Missouri being a tougher place to play. I think Missouri edges out of, again, a very close game. I think this may be a tie game in the fourth quarter. And I think somebody's going to make a play late. Missouri makes just enough. I got Missouri.
All right.
Moving on. Texas A&M, number 16 in the land, heads down to Starkville to take on Joe Moorhead's Mississippi State Bulldogs. Texas A&M at 5-2. Mississippi State, though, currently a 1-point favorite in the game. Straight up pick 'em. Ty, Texas A&M or Mississippi State?
Texas A&M. I think.
Texas A&M. Kellen Mond having the type of games that he's played in recently, getting better on offense, really being consistent, throwing the ball down the field. Travion Williams, a force in the backfield. I think it's too much. Texas A&M. Okay. Moving on to the nightcap. Tennessee takes on South Carolina, Williams-Brice Stadium. South Carolina currently an 8-point favorite in this game. Ty, what do you think?
I'm going to go Tennessee.
You're going to go Tennessee. What makes you pick Tennessee?
I think they're desperate to get back in it, and I think they're angry after that week. After that loss last week from Alabama, and I think they're going to get it done this week with offense. I think it's going to perform good. I think defense is going to stop South Carolina.
All right, good pick, Jay.
I like that. I like that. After that game against Alabama, you kind of throw that game out. Not too many teams are going to play well. Garantano has been playing well of late. I feel like he's a momentum quarterback, and I frankly just don't trust Will Muschamp. He did Florida pretty bad in terms of
little bit of a bias here. I think I can see it coming.
But I will definitely give the Vols credit. They're playing better football, so I will take Tennessee.
Tennessee, Lee.
You know, this is really back and forth in my head. I want to pick Tennessee, but I just can't. I feel like South Carolina's pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. They've got a lot of stability, probably more depth. I just don't think Tennessee's going to have enough. I do think it will be close. I also am not a Will Muschamp fan. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'd love to have a beer with him. I just don't feel like he's the greatest football coach out there. I still think, though, he's going to find a way to get his guys to beat Tennessee this week, just because I feel like Tennessee maybe a little tired. They really got up for Auburn, beat Auburn, but then playing against
really
Alabama.
Alabama.
You know, I think in some ways they've got kind of foggy eyes. You know, they're just they're a little tired, and I don't see them being able to play 4 quarters with South Carolina.
Right.
What score do you have?
Tell us the score.
All right, I'm going to say it's going to be 27-17.
Okay. As far as the score goes, I'm not really sure what I think there. I do think it's going to be a close game. Interesting stat here. Will Muschamp is 6-0 against Tennessee all time. Okay, 6-0 being at Florida, being at South Carolina, and every time. I love UT. I love UT. But Will Muschamp's going to be 7-0 against Tennessee. I hate to say it. It's setting up for one of these games. Jake Bentley has nowhere near played to the level that he's capable of playing at. Debo Samuel down the last couple of games. The receiving core for South Carolina, you give Bentley enough times, he can pick you apart. The running game, we don't really know what we're going to see from the running game from South Carolina. Tennessee is almost going to have to play a perfect game from here on out. They've got to win 3 out of 5 to go to a bowl. Definitely possible. If it was in Knoxville, I would feel a whole lot better about Tennessee's chances and their opportunities to take one from a game that they're not favored in. I just think South Carolina finds a way to get it done at home, a very hostile environment in Williams-Brice Stadium. South Carolina wins a close one.
We agree.
We agree. Moving on to our game of the week, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, okay? Being played right on the border in Jacksonville. Florida makes the trip north, Georgia makes the trip south. Number 9, Florida, Georgia being the home team this year. Number 7, Georgia currently a 6.5-point favorite. Ty, what do you see?
I love Georgia, but I think they're going to get it done this week. I think after that loss to LSU, I think they're going to struggle because we found out the real Georgia against LSU. I think Florida will get it done.
Florida gets it done. Good pick, Jay.
I like that. I like
Jay.
it.
I think we know which way you're going.
I think you do.
Give us a couple of keys.
Couple keys to the game. I would like to see a little bit more Wildcat with Coach Davis Tony. I think a little misdirection. You saw it in the Vanderbilt game where Dan Mullen dialed up some trick plays. I would look for a couple of those. Player to watch, I have 2. Georgia is currently allowing about 2 sacks per game, almost on average. Florida, C.C. Jefferson. This is a game where, in the rivalry, where you're going to get the seniors playing up to their potential. I don't feel like C.C. Jefferson's had a good senior season. And I think he's going to get some senior teams, some one-on-one matchups on the edge. Because Jack O'Keefe, I'm pronouncing that right, he actually leads the FBS in sacks. So he's got a sack in every game. So momentum swings, turnovers. I feel like Florida, most people are going to be picking against us today. More motivation. We're playing with house money because I'm pretty sure not very many people, including myself, expected us to be
In the city.
Not in the country. I'm going to go closer than the experts think. I'm going Florida 24. Georgia
21, all right. Lee.
All right, so right now, in my opinion, Florida is one of the most interesting teams in the country because they started off the year and they lost the first game, and it's going to take Mullen longer, and can the guys play together better and look more like they have been practicing all summer together? And then from then on, they've looked really good. It seems like they have been one of the most obvious improvers every week. It just seems like they were just leaps and bounds improving. And I feel like if LSU could just kick Georgia around the field like a soccer ball like they did, I feel like Florida's going to win going away. I picked Florida to win by 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, clarification there. I meant Florida losing their first SEC game early in the year against Kentucky.
Good pick. Good pick. So, Georgia, to me, was the more dominant team in the SEC when the year started. What they have in the backfield with Holyfield and DeAndre Swift is nothing just short of a great 1-2 punch. Jake Fromm started out playing great. It seemed like, and I think when they played Tennessee, they got the fortune of playing Tennessee a little bit, sooner in the season. Took advantage of several big turnovers in that game, which good teams are supposed to do. From that point forward, though, it didn't seem like they've been the same dominant Georgia team. Dan Mullen, after the loss to Kentucky, he says to the media in the media room, whether we'd won or lost the game, it didn't matter. We got a lot we got to fix with us. The players have bought into that. They have schemed well, I'll give you somebody I think you're going to watch. Freddie Swain is going to have a huge game. Freddie Swain returns a punt in this game. They're going to find ways to get him the ball on the outside. Felipe, they're going to game manage with him, not having to take the big throws, but when you get that one-on-one opportunity, take it. The Georgia defenders can be beaten in the secondary. I think Florida wins. I truly think Florida wins. Kind of for the same reason that you were saying too. A lot of people picking Georgia. Georgia's the dominant, their favorite and everything. Again, this is a game that whoever wins this game controls their destination. Their destiny in the SEC East. Again, Kentucky is a great bystander for this week. Really seeing how it's going to shake out. A three-headed race this late in the year and everything. What you love to see in the SEC. Florida though takes care of business Saturday. I do think it's going to be closer. I just think Florida's defense is going to get after Fromm and get after him often. And you may see a pick six in this game. But again, Freddie Swain, I think, is my impact player. Florida wins a close one.
So we are all picking against Vegas right now.
We're all picking against Vegas.
Take that, Vegas.
All right, so that's our picks for this week and everything. Guys, continue to please hit that subscribe button. Continue to keep sending us all the questions and comments and everything. Again, we love doing this. We love talking about the matchups each week, our favorite teams and whatnot. I hope your team wins this week.
This is Lee for Brandon, and that's what he said. Click the subscribe button, and I hope your team wins as long as they're not playing Alabama.
Peace.